Robert, we've been friends for a long time and we know a lot about each other, but I don't think I've ever asked you this question. Have you ever attended like an awkward dinner party or an awkward get together where you were just like, please, dear Lord, let me find an excuse to go home?
Every family Thanksgiving ever.
Right? Like my family doesn't get that bad. Like they'll kind
Oh
of
no.
flare up and then it'll calm down, you know?
No, no. We would see the relations that we would only see once a year. And inevitably there was booze. And my uncle would become more and more charming and whimsical. And my mother would get more and more hostile toward one of her aunts that she despised. One year she threw a gimlet into my Aunt Lee, or her Aunt Lee's, my great Aunt Lee's face over an argument and said, "You've always been a bitch and you're a bitch now." Ha!
I've
It was
always wanted to do
fantastic.
that, but not so much to your aunt.
Well,
Like,
I know it just well, my and I mean Lee was a bitch, but anyway,
well,
I mean, but no, they are well, they're good preparation for our movie we're going to talk about today because it was a very similar vibe where it's like
yes.
whimsical and funny. Oh my God, now the knives are out. It just yeah. So
Yeah.
Thanksgiving always every time.
Something about that turkey comes out and there's too many knives on the table. I don't know. As you said, on that note, let's talk about a film by Mike Nichols, his 1966 underrated film, Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf? Welcome to the A Film by podcast. I'm Amber Lewis, and I will be your host for this episode. Now, on our previous Mike Nichols episode, where we discussed the movie Wolf, Jeff promised me that when Mike Nichols came up again, I could pick the movie. And dear listeners, he lied. As all of you know, our regular host, Jeff Johnson, we love him, but he loves to make me watch movies that are uncomfortable and make me cringe. And this one is no exception. So, joining me to discuss the worst dinner party in the history of dinner parties is our expert in all things Disney, Broadway, and classic films, my dear friend, Robert Burnett. So, welcome, Robert. Buckle
Hello,
up.
hello. Yeah, and well, I guess we got two of the three. I mean, although we could count Disney if we thought that the Who's Afraid of Virginia Wolf was really to the tune of Who's Afraid of the Big Bad Wolf, like it was supposed to be, and not whatever they used instead. But yeah, so got my
Right?
got my Broadway down, got my old movies. I'm in hog heaven for this one.
I knew you were gonna just be chomping at the bit. So now this was my first time watching this film, and honestly, I had like literally actively avoided it. Um, so I've now watched it two times to my
Did your
sorrow.
opinion change? Did your opinion change?
I did enjoy it more the second time, but I still had a tummy ache.
See, it's funny that the first time I saw it, this is
And that was
I
what I was gonna ask you. Is this isn't your first time?
my million times. My first time I saw it, I like laughed my ass off and thought it was like the funniest thing I'd ever seen. And then I watched it again a few months later, and I all of a sudden I was like, this is horrible. These people are monsters. What is that? I was like, stop doing it to each other. That's one reason why I really love this movie is because I take away different things every time I watch it. So I was wondering when you said it, I didn't know it was your first time.
Yeah.
I when if you're second, all of a sudden, if you kind of flipped and went, oh, well, now some of the parts are funnier, but some of the parts are sadder, or how it went. But yeah, I fascinating. I had no idea.
Yeah, it was definitely an experience. So now it's based on the stage play written by Edward Albee. So have you seen the play? Because I feel like it would be different
Yes, I
in
have.
person. I don't know if it would
Well,
for better or worse, but I don't
you,
know.
you you're getting all my bullet points early. I love this. Yeah, I did see it in a production that just about blew my face off. I will tell you the cast. It was Glenda Jackson as Martha.
Oh my
John
gosh.
Lithgow as George, Cynthia Nixon was Honey, and Brian Kerwin was Nick. Directed by Mr. Edward Albee himself.
Oh
This
my
was
heavens.
in 1989 at the Huntington Hartford Theater, which is nice because in Los Angeles, that is the small theater. It would have been lost in like the big barns like the Amundsen and where they do the Oscars and all that. It wouldn't have worked.
Mhm.
But my head almost flew off when I saw it. I'd already decided Glenda Jackson was probably my favorite at the time living actress. And to see her in this, I got to tell you, it was weirdly not great reviews. It was just very, which I think everybody was just expecting so much more. But I've got to say, Glenda, perfect American accent, and oh my God, when she got to lines like I am the Earth Mother and you are all flops. Like the entire audience was scorched. It was like
Right?
it was like you could and Lithgow was just it was his completely his own take on the role, but he had that same blend like he usually will that Burton did where he can be meek and mousy and put upon and then all of a sudden kind of stand up straight and just become this strong in charge guy. And so they were both perfectly cast and I just loved it. And so yeah, only production I've ever seen of it, but what a way to go.
Did
It's
you like
amazing.
it live better than on film?
Well, it was one of those weird things. I had seen the movie at that point a billion times. This is a movie that my friends and I at the time, and Stephen and I since because I saw it before I ever met him. But we quote this movie all the time. It is so quotable.
Hmm.
And it took me about 15 minutes to get into the production because I just kept hearing the film. And
Yeah.
I was like, that's not right. That no, that's not right. No, wrong
Hmm.
inflection. No, no, that's not supposed to be funny. And so I was kind of like resisting it, but then I kind of gave over to it, and it was great. And it was, I mean, the movie is very, very close to the play script. I mean, it is not one of those adaptations where they just said, "Oh, we'll keep the premise and we'll bring in some extra characters and we'll like have a scene." With 30 other characters. Like, no, this is a very well done transfer of play to screen. So seeing the play did not really change up much about it. It was just neat to see a different interpretation of some of these same characters with different dynamics and different uh kind of power plays going on than what I saw in the film.
Yeah, I always feel like it's a little bit like when you've seen a movie a million times at home, and then you get the opportunity to see it in a theater with an audi the rest of the audience, and they're laughing at things that you never laugh at, and you're like,
Yeah.
wait, what? It just brings a whole different, kind of
Or,
experience.
or if you're me, you laugh at things and no one else does. I
Yeah.
tend to do the little ha, and then like the entire room is silent, and I've like made this like big laugh, and it's I own it. I don't
Well,
care.
you
I
make them
think
think about it later.
right exactly. They're like, why
Give them
did she
something to
laugh? Why
talk
did she
about
laugh?
at dinner. What did that mean? Three bits of trivia facts about our director, Mike Nichols, and a quote from Mike Nichols. Richard Burton, who in his private diaries is frequently scathing about his colleagues and just has no qualms about ripping them to shreds. He writes glowingly about Mike Nichols. Um, Professionally, he believed that Nichols was one of only three directors who brought out something in me as an actor, which I didn't know was there. And on a personal level, thought Nichols and Noel Coward were the only men of talent whose company he actually enjoyed.
Wow. I'm
Which,
not surprised. I mean,
no Coward, like, hello.
Elizabeth Taylor asked to have Nichols direct this. It was his first film, and it was on account of she wanted him to do it. So I'm sure Richard had something to say about that too. But
But I mean, luckily, they fought about everything else. It's good that they
yeah,
agreed on him.
yeah.
Um, I know we talked about this on our Wolf episode, but I have to bring it up again because it's so daggone impressive. Mike Nichols is an EGOT. He has four Emmys, one Grammy, one Oscar, and eight Tonys.
He
Like,
also had no eyebrows. Is
just
that in your trivia?
that is not in my trivia. He had alopecia, but
Yeah, yeah, and he had no eyebrows, and he started wearing fake eyebrows back when he was working with Elaine May, and kept him up till almost the whole of his life.
hey, he got Diane Sawyer, so there has to be something to that,
He was wearing his sexy eyebrows that day.
right? He had five rules for filmmaking. Number one, the careful application of terror is an important form of communication, which I feel like that is this entire movie for me.
Hmm.
Number two, anything worth fighting for is worth fighting dirty for. I don't know how I feel about that one. Number three,
It sounds like it came out of the movie.
right? Number three, there's absolutely no substitute for genuine lack of preparation. Number four, if you think there's good in everybody, you haven't met everybody. And number five, friends may come and go, but enemies will certainly become studio heads.
It sounds like he must have written those five right after he directed this movie, because there's a lot of that
Right?
same kind of like, I have to deal with you, but I kind of hate you, but it's reciprocal, and yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting. Interesting.
And then I love this quote because I love and adore Elizabeth Taylor. I think she was just fabulous. And Mike Nichols said about her, there are three things I never saw Elizabeth Taylor do: tell a lie, be unkind to anyone, and be on time.
Oh, that sounds fabulous.
I know. It's just the best quote ever.
I've got two more. Can I throw in two more?
Yeah, yeah,
We'll
by
make
all
it five trivias.
means.
One is just so random. It was one of those like cosmic universe things, right? Which is like, what now? Um, Nichols famously directed a production of Waiting for Godot in the 80s with Robin Williams and Steve Martin and Bill Irwin.
Yes, I've
Yeah, one of
seen
his,
it on
yeah,
PBS and it was so amazing.
yeah. But it turns out he has an association with that play. Before he teamed up with Elaine May in Chicago and was doing their stand-up, he was trying to be a legit actor, and he appeared in a production of Waiting for Godot as, I think it was Lucky, one of the more minor characters. And one of the two leads was Harvey Korman.
Oh my
Carol Burnett
gosh.
show, Harvey Korman. Harvey
Right?
Korman was also trying to be like a legit serious actor, and Mike Nichols was trying to be this legit serious actor. So they appeared in a production of Waiting for Godot in Chicago in 1957. I want a time machine, and I want to go back to see Harvey Korman
Yes.
in a Beckett play. I need without like a funny accent or boobs or whatever else he's going to
Yeah.
do to make it funny. That just blew my mind. I was like, this is the kind of weird trivia that just gets me excited. The other one though, and putting on my Broadway hat for a minute, Nichols, as you mentioned, it was an EGOT. He has a bunch of T's in that EGOT, TTT,
Yes.
Tony, Tony, Tony. But he was also really famous in the biz for being a show doctor, which is basically somebody who isn't really a writer or a director or involved with the show at all, but swoops in when they're having trouble and says, here's what you need to do. Boom, boom, boom. You're going to have a hit. And then they do those things and they have a hit. So um, she's most famous for taking the musical Annie from this ridiculous hot mess that was not working and had all kinds of problems. And he came in and like Mike Nichols did and said, no, we're doing this, we're doing that, we're changing this, we're changing that. Here's what you're going to do. And of course, it opened and played for years. And everybody in America can sing tomorrow. But
Right.
he also did that for My One and Only, which is a fantastic Gershwin musical, and lots of other shows. They would just call him up and say, Mike, we got some problems. The funny part of it is a lot of show doctors do it out of friendship. It's in the theater community. I'll help you out, and you're going to come and help me out, whatever. Mike Nichols always got paid for it. Even though he was not credited, he made sure he was always paid, which I think was a little window into his mind or his life. Oh, he would help. He'd be a pal, but he also, had a contract.
Yeah. Shrewd.
Yeah.
Very shrewd. That's awesome. I did not know that. All right. Here we go. We're getting into it. As I mentioned, this film is about the dinner party from hell. So, Robert, Can you give our listeners who may not have seen or heard this film a little more informative synopsis than just, it's 2 hours of
Certainly,
misery?
certainly. It is George and Martha. Sad, sad, sad. Anyway, they one of my favorite quotes from that. I say that all the time. Anyway, the film is set in a small college town. George is a middling professor, married to the president of the college's daughter, Martha. Keep those names in mind, George and Martha. They become symbolic later. Anyway, um, they are been married for some time. They are discontent that they like many long-time married couples, they have their moments, but they are just kind of over each other at this point in their marriage. She in particular thinks that George should have made more of himself. She, after all, is the daughter of the president, and George, she feels, is not done enough to be running the school, as she says. You are in the English department. You should be the English department anyway, in her emphatic way of speaking. Uh, and they've come home from this ghastly party that we do not see. And as he's winding down and getting ready to go to bed, she announces, "Oh, no, no, time for that. Make some drinks. We've got guests coming over." She is invited two young people. They don't actually have names. We never learn their real names. He is known by convention as Nick. I think it's in like the playtext, but he doesn't. His name's never given. And she is called Honey, but we don't know their names. They're just this younger couple. He is in the math department. Um, well, he's not in the math
He's
department,
not.
but
She
but
says he
Martha
is.
says he's in the math department. Anyway, turns out he's actually in the science department. But anyway, they're coming over for a nightcap because Martha has invited them. And we spend the rest of the evening more or less in real time with them over the next couple hours as they drink and drink more and drink more. And all four people start to kind of unravel and show their other side and what's really going on. And there are shenanigans and hijinks and party games, lots of party games.
Oh.
My favorite, the well known named Hump the Hostess. Um, but anyway, that one comes after Get the Guests and before Bringing Up Baby. But anyway, party games and lots of drinking and animosity. And after many hours of arguing and recriminations and secrets revealed, um, everything kind of explodes. And Nick and Honey are finally dismissed. And George and Martha realize it is dawn and have to begin another day in their marriage. Slow curtain, the end.
I love the first 5 minutes, but then after that, I'm like, why are these two people still married to each other? Just save
But you can
yourself
see
and run
you
away.
you can see it all through though. That's one thing I love about this movie is especially in the first 5 minutes, which is so brilliant because it sets it all up. But they are affectionate and they have got which probably Burton and Taylor both brought a lot of their own relationship along with the fact that they're both amazing actors. But I just totally bought this is a couple who's been together forever and they go off into their little baby talk game and they go off into their little thing and they have that same fight they always have. It's kind of like a fun little Saturday night tradition and they just I totally bought them as a longtime married couple, and
Yes, I
but
love the
always
whole
felt they were
sequence.
close. I didn't
Yes.
think that they were, and go ahead.
Oh, sorry. No, I was gonna say I love the whole sequence when um she quotes Betty Davis and she's like, "What is that movie?" And she goes through the whole scene imitating Betty Davis and describes this movie. And that is such a real, like, longtime couple argument.
Well,
Like,
what I love
it's the
about
one with the guy in the thing. And
what I love about that sequence too, I can talk about the opening sequence now, I guess, rather than save it up for later. But
yeah, I think we're kind of
it
throwing our guideline out
no,
the window.
nah, it's fine. But the opening sequence to me, the first well, I mean, first of all, you've got like this 3 or 4 minute credits montage of this quiet, peaceful college campus. It's very late at night. There's no one around except a couple walking through the dark, and we don't really see them. And it goes on for a couple minutes. And then you see the couple in silhouette coming to the front door, and then we do a reverse angle, and it's dark, and the door opens, and the light switch turns on. There are Burton and Taylor just standing there in this hideous light, just staring straight ahead. It is such a brilliant star entrance. I love star entrances in movies, and this is such a great one because I mean, they were two of the most famous actors in the world at that time. They were the most famous couple, certainly, in the world at that time. And we get this great build up to them, just like, and boom, there they are. Like you almost want to applaud, like during that pause when they're both just
Well,
standing
and
there.
you can feel like that is the moment when someone famous is in a Broadway show and they make their
Yeah, yeah,
entrance, and
yeah.
you lose the whole show for like 5 minutes while
Well,
everybody loses their
it worked so
mind.
brilliant. But then, to your point, she goes off on that Betty Davis riff. That entire bit just not only is it hilariously funny, and she's sitting there, and bless Elizabeth Taylor for putting on 30 pounds for this role like she did and everything else. She's sitting there like eating fried chicken out of the fridge, talking with her mouth full, and just like,
Yes.
ah, so George, like chewing on her chicken. It's
And like
obnoxious.
smoking at the same time, which
Yeah, and
smoking
then
and eating is so gross.
he's like not even listening, but he's listening enough that he keeps correcting her grammar, which I think is hilarious. It's like the perfect married couple. I am the George in that
I was gonna
relationship,
say that would be
correcting the
you.
grammar. Can't help it. Even when I'm not listening, I'm like, no, it to whom, not to who. Anyway, but her speech, where she basically ostensibly talking about this Betty Davis movie, uh, Betty Davis comes home from a hard day at the grocery store. And he's like, what? And she's like, she's a housewife. She buys things. Hilarious. And then she does this whole thing, and it's so funny. And it's like just campy and funny and just exactly what you would think she would say. But then there's this pause, and he mumbles something, and she says, she's discontent. And all of a sudden, she's not talking about the damn movie anymore. She's not being her like blousy, funny self. She is like, here's what we're really talking about now. And
Hmm.
and to me, that is what so many relationships, whether it's with your parents or with your whatever, it's like, I'm not going to shoot the breeze about this movie we were talking about, but then, oh wait, here's my thing. Boom. The opening scene is great, and then so many more quotable lines. The mousy little thing with without any hips or anything, she says about their guest coming. I just and then I squeal every time when he's like, "Don't bray, Martha." And she's like, "I don't pray."
Hooray!
Yeah, it's like, oh my God. And props for Elizabeth Taylor for making herself so just almost grotesquely unattractive, unappealing, braying, eating her chicken.
But
Her
like
boobs are falling out of her
she is
dress. But
still the most beautiful woman in the history of the world.
yes,
Like she's got all this makeup on, a wig that's gray, like she had put on weight, which even with extra weight, like she looks fabulous. And
yeah.
you're still just like, my God, you're
But
so
that
amazing.
scene, it sets up the whole movie so brilliantly, and the whole play before that. But where ostensibly they're talking about one thing, but really there's all this other stuff that's going on. So her discussion about Betty Davis being the discontent housewife, yes, she's trying to remember what the quote is she says when she says, "What a dump." But also she is now introduced like, here's our theme of what tonight's going to be about. I'm
Hmm.
discontent. That's our topic. We can call it Betty Davis. We can call it, whatever you want. But here's what's going to really go down. And
Yes.
it sets up the rest of the movie so well.
So now I have a question for you because this has bothered me through both like watchings. So you get through exposition that it's 2 a.m. when the first party ends and they come staggering home and they're already blotto. So my question is to Nick and Honey, like who agrees to go out for a nightcap at 2 a.m.? Like what sort of self-destructive, like kind of wanting to be beaten kind of people are these that you already have read the room and know that these two are a hot mess from the party you were just at because their behavior was disgusting there. So why in God's name do they go?
Well, Amber, the reason is because as we learn about all the characters, nobody's what they seem as at first. Nick is super, super ambitious. And she is, as we hear often, the college president's daughter. And
Yeah.
he knows that if the college president's daughter said, come have a drink, and it's freaking 2 in the morning and everyone's already sloshed, you go and you suck up and you kiss her butt and you defer and you because think about how deferential and also flirty he is in the beginning with her.
He is
And
disgustingly flirty with her.
at the beginning, and then and under the guise probably of, oh, we're all a little tipsy, ha ha, flirty flirty, your husband's
Hmm.
right here, there's my wife, it doesn't mean anything. But
Right.
everybody in this movie is in some way or other kind of despicable, and although also entertaining. But he is just career minded, and I mean, he marries Honey. Spoilers alert for everybody listening. If you haven't watched the movie, pause now because we have
Yeah.
already
We're
said a
getting
lot. But
into
anyway,
it.
yeah, we already learned that he married Honey ostensibly because she thought she was pregnant, but in actuality because her family has a lot of money. They mentioned that her father has money, so Nick
I
is just an
missed
opportunity.
that.
Yeah,
I was so focused on the hysterical pregnancy thing.
when he and George are having their little tete-a-tete.
Mm,
Well, how they do the round robin thing in this. The only thing we don't really get is
yes.
a really good scene, a long scene between Honey and Martha, which would have been great. But we have like these different pairings of
I don't
characters.
know.
But
I
no,
couldn't handle George being mean to Honey. I don't think I could have handled Martha just eating her alive in little tiny pieces.
oh well, okay. We have different takes on Honey, but no. To answer your question, yeah, I think Nick is just super super ambitious, and if he needs to help the hostess to get a promotion, he'll do it.
Oh, that just makes him even more gross. Like I already didn't like him.
Do you love though? I mean, when I think of George Siegel, I think of, I guess, late period George Siegel, what I am used to seeing, where the sweet little Jewish man, the comedian, even on like his
The only
sitcoms,
thing I could
comic,
think
comic,
of him
comic.
in is he's the schmo in Look Who's Talking that gets Kirstie Alley pregnant, and he's such a jerk.
Yeah, but he, I
Like
mean, I think of
that's
him
all
so
I
often
could
in,
think of.
well, he was on that. I think it was called Just Shoot Me. Maybe there was a sitcom with him and David Spade and some other people on
Oh,
that. I think,
okay.
and he'd been in a lot of things, but he almost always, especially the older he got,
Hmm.
was just very comical and very
Yes.
lovable and twinkly and comical. It kind of leaned more into the Jewish thing, which he kind of did not do early in his career. And but in this, it's like I forget that early on he was really more of a dramatic actor than he was a comic actor. But he just
Hmm.
found his groove and went there.
Yeah, for sure. Well, let's take a quick break, and then when we come back, we'll get even further into the cast and talk about the production and talk about some noteworthy scenes.
This episode is brought to you by the Mayrow & Co. Dog Treat Bakery, a full-service bakery for your dogs, providing classic treats, cookies, donuts, custom cakes, and more. Their treats are baked with only the highest quality, locally sourced ingredients. Baking just a pound of treats at a time ensures that their treats are the best and the ones your best friends deserve. Mayrow & Co. Dog Treat Bakery has been treating Cincinnati's dogs to tail wagging goodness since 2012, and now they're available online at mayrowandco.com.
So, welcome back to our discussion of Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf. Let's continue talking about the cast. There's only four people in the whole movie. I don't count like the bartender at the pub they stop at because they don't do that in the play, right? They
No,
just
the whole
stay at
play
the
is in
house.
their whole play is in their living room. It's
Yeah.
one set, and that's one thing I think Nichols did because he is our raison d'etre for this episode. Mike
Hmm.
Nichols just made this what could have been stagey one set play so filmic. It is just you don't ever get this feeling that you're trapped in one room with these people. I mean, partly because they did set up the device of zooming off to the roadhouse or whatever it was with the jukebox or whatever,
Yeah.
and then coming back, and then they film one of the scenes is outside, they're in their backyard or wherever.
Hmm.
But even the scenes so in the house, Nichols just keeps the camera moving and the editing going to where you do not feel like you are watching something that's going on behind a proscenium and you're like, oh God, are we ever going to get out of this room? But yeah, and weirdly, but more trivia. The I learned this today when I was reading up a little bit more on it. The guy at the Roadhouse and the waitress or barmaid or whatever she is, were actually that's the gaffer and his wife. They were just like somebody come in here and carry a tray of glasses and you come and so they just did that. But yeah, only four actors, four
And talking
roles.
about the way Mike Nichols shot this, I am not a big fan of super duper close-ups. They make me very uncomfortable. But the way he uses them in this movie to make you uncomfortable, I think is so amazing. And to make sometimes it makes the character vulnerable, sometimes it makes them uglier, sometimes, it makes them harder. It just kind of depends on the angle. I thought that was really, really well done.
I love how he uses individual close-ups and then sometimes he'll have like two people in a shot and
Yes.
that whole sequence where it's all starting to unravel near the end and all of a sudden poor Nick is like, I don't know if you people are lying or what. And then all of a sudden we cut to this shot. It's been lots of like one head, one head, one head. He said, I don't know if you two are lying or what. All of a sudden, they're George and Martha side by side in the shot. And they're like, you're damn right. You're not supposed to. And it's like, bam, they've like teamed up literally in this shot on him. And then there's a great follow-up where uh George says, or sorry, Nick says something about like, oh, and your parents were there? Was that after you shot them? And we see only Burton in the shot, only George, and he says, maybe. And then all of a sudden, boop, up pops Martha into the frame and goes, yeah, or maybe not. And it's like, these two have got like this like twofer act going that is so brilliant. But, and those scenes would not have played the same way if he'd been doing just his close-ups or just like a master shot or something. And then that great, I just love the cinematography in this and the filming. That great, the only time we really get a big master shot, the very beginning of the party when they all sit down on the couch and they're kind of
Hmm.
yakking a little bit and George is hovering in the background. And then at the end when like all hell is broken loose, and they're getting ready to leave and Elizabeth Taylor's crying her eyes out and it just snapdragons are all over the floor. It's the whole thing. I think they're gladiolas, but anyway, it looks like
I was going to say,
snapdragons.
those are not Snapdragons.
I know, but anyway, but whatever they are, the all of a sudden we get this great master shot, and for the first time in the film, it's not like you're at the party, you're at in the room with them. It's not like a straight on shot. The
Hmm.
camera's way up, showing her sitting in the window box crying, and George is hovering over her, and the other couple is in the corner, kind of like trying to like think like how the hell can we get to that door? It's only 4 feet
Yes.
away, but like help us. And we have this long master shot as all these final things are being said, and then they go into that nice shot of George and Martha in the window frame, where he comes over and consoles her, and they're having
Hmm.
the very last lines of the film. And again, just so filmic and so great to all of a sudden kind of set up the claustrophobia and the being too close, and they literally are in your face, yelling and screaming at you.
Hmm.
The party starts where we're kind of omniscient and detached, and it kind of ends that way where I think it partly is just to give us breathing room. At this point, we are all wrung out, just like they are, and
Yes.
like a little nauseous and a little bit like, ugh. And
Seriously, like my tummy hurt.
you like you put your drink down. You're like, I'm never doing that again, you know.
Yep.
And I think that lovely second to last shot where the camera is just very removed. It's just like we're backing up. It's
Hmm.
ending. You can the franticness and the claustrophobia and the intensity is dissipating now. So Nichols, just his direction is so extraordinary. How he tells so much of the story or gives so much of the feeling through where he puts his cameras and stuff. Which again with four people, in one setting ostensibly, it could be really dull to watch. But I mean, did this both the play and the film had released LPs of the entire show. You can still
I
get them
saw
both.
that.
Yeah, and because like literally it is a radio play. You don't need to see any of this
Yeah,
to get it. Albie is great, but he's very talky. But you don't need to really see anything that's going on ever. But so the albums both sold and both work. But Nichols was able to take it and make it so filmic and make it work as a movie where you were not visually bored or able to anticipate what you were going to see next.
absolutely. Let's talk about Richard Burton. He is usually like, I always think of the movie The Sandpipers, like so romantic, so dashing. Oh my gosh. Like you could just faint. And he is so like driven to his knees by Martha on so many occasions that when he finally like steps to her, at first you're kind of cheering him on, but he always takes it too far.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, and I can't get over the fact that um he was, just a famous drinker in the, pantheon of like Richard Harris and Peter O'Toole and just carousing their way through, the English countryside. But he remained sober during working hours because he said like you can't work when you're falling apart. Like I can play drunk, but I can't be drunk and play. Like it
Oh,
just doesn't
that makes
happen.
sense. I
Which,
saw on one of the bonus features things that they were showing some behind the scenes footage, and I was like, what is going on with Burton? What is happening? 'Cause he's standing there and he's listening, I think probably to Mike Nichols, I forget who, but several people in the shot, and he's standing there listening, and you're like, something is not right. And I'm not going to say that he was like swaying and inebriated, he was not, but all of a sudden he goes to step in front of the camera and his whole posture just crumpled. And I was like, oh my God, he was like, when he was listening and not acting, he was like standing up with this great posture and looked his head up. And like they said, roll film. And it was like this beaten down man who like aged 10 years walked in front of the camera. And I was like, oh my God. I mean, it seems like it should be obvious, but I was like, he's doing so much. And his power in this, because he is so beaten down for so much of the movie, when he starts to kind of get back his power and flips the switch on poor little Martha, Burton, I mean, they keep that camera on his face, and you can just see the thought process and the evil glints and I mean, just
well, and
masterful.
every time he's listening to Nick and Honey, you can watch him filing away all this information that he is going to use to just destroy their lives later on. Like Martha, I think is more like she shoots from the hip. I don't think she's as calculated as he is.
Yeah. Oh, I absolutely agree.
She's just so quick that she can just nail you, without having to really work at it. Where he is constantly like preparing and sifting through everything you said for the thing that he can devastate you with the most.
That is one criticism that this movie and play have both received was that exactly to your point, George and then also Nick, the men are very shrewd and calculating and smart and attentive, whatever you want to call it. And Honey and Martha are just emotional. They're not, and so people have accused Albie in other plays too of being very kind of sexist, where the women are reactive and emotional, and the men are smarter and in control and thinking ahead and that kind of thing.
Hmm.
And it doesn't
I didn't
detract
think of
from
it
the
that way, but
film.
that does seem to be a fair criticism now that
And
you
it
mention it.
also it sets up the wonderful fan theory. I keep waiting for someone to write the play, but I love the fact that in Nick and Honey, because of that, because the men are both playing the long game, so to speak, and
Mm-hmm.
listening really carefully and gathering up all their little bits of knowledge they can use against somebody later. And the women are just kind of like, whatever, I'm just, in my moment. But the idea is that with Nick and Honey, what we're looking at is a future George and Martha. Put 20 years on them, and they will be exactly like George and Martha are. Um, the same dynamic where
Oh, I don't know.
she's emotional and manipulative, and he is shrewd and kind of playing a role. I know it's a theory. I don't know if I buy it either, but people think that it's
Well,
like
I
this
feel like
perpetuating thing.
maybe it could have been if they hadn't gone to this party.
Hmm, I like
That
that.
I think that this experience, like they are leaving changed people, and I don't think they'll ever be alone in a room with George and Martha ever again.
No, no one should.
Like, I mean, seriously. And that's the thing that drives me crazy is why don't you just leave? Like, I would have gotten it. The minute he brought out that freaking shotgun, that gag, I'm out.
Yeah. Well, I think at that
Like,
point, I mean, that is a valid question because there's so many times where I'm like, no, it's like, no, that is when I'd be like, get the car, we're out of here. Like,
yeah.
I'm not, but I don't know, especially with Nick, there is this kind of mano a mano, like the two Rams butting their heads thing where I
Hmm.
feel like as long as George's game, Nick is going to keep pushing at him, and they're going to see who's like the real man in this. I don't know.
Well,
Perhaps.
and I do keep reminding myself, and I was trying to keep track, and I always lose track. But like, just how freaking drunk are they? How many
Yeah,
drinks do they have? Like, I was trying to keep track, and I kept getting distracted, and then I'd lose count. But I mean, they're like half a bottle of brandy in, halfway through the movie. And I
yeah,
mean, I
exactly.
would be in the hospital. So I,
Well, but George does break the one bottle though. So at
oh,
least at
that's
least at
true.
least we were spared that.
Yes. Did you love one of my favorite things? When they come back from the roadhouse, there's a whole sequence with Elizabeth Taylor just kind of walking through the house and she's like, where did everybody go? And she's looking for them and she walks out into the yard and the whole time she's carrying her drink and you just hear this incessant clinking of her ice cubes.
Yeah,
I don't
yeah,
know why I am so fascinated by that, but that whole sequence, I was just like in it. And it
that is
had to do with
amazing.
that sound effect, was just so effective, like this ghost rattling through the wreckage of this party.
That is hilarious because I'm thinking about it. You don't usually hear the ice cubes through the movie, but you hear them then for
Yeah.
sure. Um,
I love Elizabeth Taylor. I think she is absolutely amazing in this role to play 20 years older and unattractive and hateful.
well, that's the
Like,
thing is she did nothing to make her character well, none of them did, but likable.
mhm.
There was no, but y'all know I'm Elizabeth Taylor, wink, wink. It was like, no, she was a virago. She was just shrill and loud and braying and
Right.
everything else. Um and it makes me a little sad because so much of her career she spent just being kind of the pretty object,
Hmm.
and
I
doing
was thinking of
material that
like A
was
Place in the Sun, where she's
yeah,
like the trophy, this beautiful,
yeah, and she was
innocent.
absolutely that. Oh my gosh, she was
Yeah.
stunning, but she had so much depth. I mean, I think this is probably by far my favorite movie of hers in terms of her acting and her range, because she gets to
Yes.
just do so much. Um,
Now we talked about George Siegel a little bit. Sandy Dennis. How do we feel about her? She makes me crazy. And when I
she
see the list of actresses that played Honey on stage, like Carrie Coon and Cynthia Nixon and Imogene Poots, I'm like, anybody else? Does she make you
well,
crazy? Do you like her?
I don't like her. But and by the way, you left off the original Honey, Melinda Dillon.
Oh
who
my gosh, that's right.
who 10 years later is Richard Dreyfuss's little fling in Close Encounters of the Third Kind.
Yes.
Talk about range. Like I'm going to be on Broadway doing Albie, and then I'm going to be in a Spielberg movie, and I can nail both. But no, Sandy Dennis gives me hives. Basically, I mean, she won an Oscar for it. I mean, that was one of the
I
things about this movie is
know.
all four of the actors won Oscars for the movie. I mean, it was it was nominated for 13 and won 5, and but all four. And I just I mean, the 60s is when we started doing kooky and weird. It's why we got
Hmm.
Jack Nicholson, and Al Pacino, and a lot of those actors who were not movie star handsome or classically trained. It was these kind of more real people. But yeah, I liked her when I saw her in this, even though the character is annoying as fuck. But anyway, liked her a lot. But then I saw her in like two other things, and I was like, oh my God, that's just her. She's just
Yeah.
like she's not inhabiting a role. She's just this weird kabuki
Like
freak that
Meg
like
Tilly is the same way,
yes, yeah.
where they just like show up and are weird and twitchy and
Or do you mean Jennifer Tilly? You mean Meg
no,
Tilly?
Meg Tilly.
Because Jennifer Tilly is a national treasure and I love her.
Yeah,
But
there will be no
anyway,
talking against her.
okay, well, I just want to make sure we were on the same page there.
Yeah,
But
no,
yeah,
no.
um,
Charm,
Dennis,
charm,
I'm
charm.
told was very effective. I think she has a Tony for something else. I mean, she was
People love her.
not me.
No.
Um,
But then I wondered, like, Honey is annoying, but I feel so. I hate when George turns on her, when he rips her apart because of the baby and just starts taking all this information that he's gathered and just completely eviscerates her. I hate it so much because I mean, you're like kicking a kitten. Like there's no challenge there. There's no, it's
I
just
think it is.
being spiteful and mean just for the hell of it.
I think it's more to get at Nick more than it is to affect Honey. And
But
let's
I feel like
hope.
Nick doesn't care.
Well, no,
He doesn't get as mad as he should.
no, but the that's the thing. I mean, George and Martha are super loyal to each other. You know, they can rip each other's guts out, but you do not get to play that game. That is just for them. You are not worthy. Um, but I like to believe Honey seems like she is the only one in the film who has had a drink, and obviously far too many. She is
Yes.
super like drunk and weird all through. And I like to believe that the next morning she's going to wake up and have a horrible headache and a dry mouth and turn to Nick and say, did we go to those people's house last night? Did we have fun? And he was like, it was fine, dear. And she's like, okay. That's what I'm hoping because yeah,
Yes.
that was a lot that George unleashed on her. I also wonder too, because I believe these people are all real. I wonder if George just was so frustrated with Martha that he was just lashing out like at anybody and everybody, without his usual calculation and stuff. He just was just being
Yeah, he just
a
kind of
big
went
dick. Um,
unhinged.
yeah. Can I talk for a minute about the screenwriter?
Oh yeah.
Since we're ostensibly in the cast and crew portion of the
I know.
outlines. Sorry, Jeff, outline. There's no outline with us.
An outline.
Anyway, the no, is that Ernest Lehman was the screenwriter for this. Now, what I love about Ernest Lehman is he made like 20 movies, and all but one he adapted a stage play into a movie. So he was known famously in Hollywood as the person who wrote exterior George and Martha's house in between all the dialogue because he never changed the dialogue, really, not ever, very
Yeah.
rarely. He did, and he was mainly known, weirdly, for musicals. He took The King and I, and then West Side Story, which we've talked about,
Hmm.
and then The Sound of Music, and then Streisand's Hello Dolly. All of those were screenplay by Ernest Lehman, which basically meant take the play and just write some directions for the camera on the page and something else. Now, West Side Story, he did come up with the idea, although it was also Robert Wise, the director, of
Yeah.
switching some scenes around.
I was gonna say Robert Wise has hands
Yeah.
all over the
Yeah,
place.
so that but Lehman was basically was the go-to guy for we have a smash Broadway show. How do we make this a movie? Hand it to Ernest. He'll write in, exterior day, whatever. Um, but he did write one screenplay entirely on his own. It was his own idea, and he wrote it himself. And that was North by Northwest. Um, so if you're only going to have one movie that you're remembered for as being your
Seriously.
movie, I'm like, where he got this, I have no idea. But Hitchcock loved him. He also worked on Family Plot too. I forget if he got credited, but he worked on the last Hitchcock, the Family Plot movie. But Lehman, what I love especially about him, besides the fact that he had a 25-year Hollywood career, just turning plays into movies,
Right.
but was that he this movie, this lovely movie we're talking about, black and white, four characters, dark, nasty, foul language. It was unrated at the time and almost didn't get released. Um, Came out in between Sound of Music and Hello Dolly. So before that, it was the singing nuns in the Alps, and after that, it was Barbara being, bigger than a train station and everything else.
Yes.
And then he slid this one in between them. So I mean, nothing else. The guy was versatile. But
Right?
anyway,
Oh
it
my
just cracked
gosh.
me up that when because you can literally sit with the play in your lap and watch the film,
Hmm.
and I think what one like, fuck you turned into, or screw you, maybe it was, turned into damn you, and
Yeah.
there's like a few little barely language shifts. And that's it. That's all he did, was basically like the dialogue is it's all there on the page. It's you can do a read along, but Lehman must have, and Nichols obviously came up with the shots and the angles along with Haskell Wexler, who did the amazing cinematography. Um, but yeah, I can't understand the career of Ernest Lehman because his name
Hey,
is on
when
some of my favorite movies, and he
right.
contributed, as far as I can tell, nothing. Um,
When you got a gag,
but North by Northwest, he does
Right?
earn
Like I would
he
forgive a
earns his
lot
place.
for that movie.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, I want to talk behind the scenes a little bit. So this story just completely blows my mind. Burton and Taylor, as you have said, were like the hugest stars. Just legendary stars. And so the story goes that it was a challenge to actually get them in front of the cameras. They
How do you mean?
both they both had it in their contracts that they didn't have to be on set until 10 in the morning, even though like most other productions begin like at dawn, especially because she had 2 hours of makeup to do and she did not care. So they arrive on set. It takes them 2 hours, around 10 o'clock, 2 hours of makeup, hair and wardrobe. Now they're ready for shooting. And by the time they were camera ready, now it's lunchtime. So they'd go off for these lengthy cocktail filled lunches and return late in the afternoon to finally begin shooting. And when they finally did come back, they just ignore it all and be real nice. And, hey, Mike, we're sorry we're late, but we're ready. Let's shoot. But then they wouldn't come back until like 5 o'clock, and they had it in their contract that they couldn't work past 6. So
Well, they
they'd
were the
like,
biggest stars in the world.
right? So they'd show up, they'd get into their gear, and then go drink for 4 hours and come back and like shoot for an hour, and then they're done. So Mike Nichols ended up being 30 days over schedule and doubled the budget. And
Wow, I did
the
not know that.
studio was going to kick him off the movie, but they knew if they fired him, the Burtons would walk. So, like, they were hamstrung. There was nothing they could do. And, like, Richard Burton and Elizabeth Taylor just did, like, whatever they wanted.
Did you read about the original casting idea for this movie that Warner Brothers was all gung ho for?
I think I did, but I don't remember. What was it?
They wanted Betty Davis as Martha and James Mason as George. They were both longtime Warner Brothers stars. I mean, Mason had done Star is Born, and Betty had almost her entire career was at Warner Brothers. Um, and they both wanted this movie so bad, and Warner Brothers was like, no, Betty, you're not going to play someone whose first scene is imitating Betty Davis because that's just too
I
meta
mean,
for
that's a little
anybody.
meta, but
Yeah, and what you're going to do, Joan Crawford instead? I don't think so.
right.
Yeah, and Mason, I think, wasn't available maybe or something, but that was the original thought, was to go with them. And honestly, I mean, seeing this on paper, you would not think, oh, the Burton Taylors, they'd be perfect as the shrewish, ugly, over the hill, crazy college couple. Like
Yeah.
they're not a first pick, except for the fact that they have acting chops,
Right.
But they're not a good fit for this, you would think. So if they want to like lay around all day and have martinis offset, I say go for it because this movie was well worth it.
Yes. Whatever they did, it made it happen.
I did want to mention it is interesting that there have been so many variations and spin-offs and spoofs of this. I mean, The Simpsons have done a spoof of this, and lots of shows have done a
Yes.
spoof of this. It is very iconic. But I love all the theories about this play that have gone around for years. One was that, and I alluded to it earlier, is that it was this deconstruction of modern American life. George and Martha being, of course, George and Martha Washington, the parents of the old guard of the country, and Nick and Honey were the next generation, and learn from the sins of the father and mother, although neither they were not father or mother. And it was this sort of, so there's one interpretation. Albie laughed at it and said no. He said actually George and Martha were based on some real people he knew that he thought were so horrible he wanted to put them in a play. But and then also dogging Albee for most of his career because he was a gay playwright, was that everyone said when they in the 60s when they saw the play and then later when they saw the movie, well, everyone knows that's not how real straight couples are. It's obviously for gay guys. It's obviously like this like campy over the top bitch fest, two gay couples having at it, which Albee also thought was stupid. Is he said, well, I wouldn't have had like a pregnancy be one of the most important plot points of the entire play if in fact it was supposed to be for men, because that doesn't happen.
Yeah.
um but even but the people harped onto the idea of George and Martha can't have children, so they pretend to have a child, and well, that's what two men would do, I guess, if they can't. Well, idiotic.
Yeah.
Although, fun fact, in the 1970s, there was going to be an all-male version of this. It was going to be, and it got pretty dang far. Uh, and this was going to be a stage version. And then Albee Estate, or actually he was still alive then, Albee heard about it and said, this is not happening. He still has, even though he's been dead for years, in his contract to do his plays, he's very specific about you cannot do this, you cannot do that. He's really wants this thing to be seen. But anyway, this 1970 production, it was going to go to Broadway. They had financing, the stars were set, everybody was ready until the author got word of it and said no. George and Martha were going to be, once again, Richard Burton opposite Henry Fonda. And the young couple was going to be Warren Beatty and John Voight. Warren Beatty was going to be Nick, and John Voight was going to be Honey. They were all for it. It was actually Henry Fonda's idea. They were going to do this and Albee was just like, this is not happening because my characters are not all men. Two of them are women, two of them are men. And in fact, to this day, there has not been an authorized, legit production of this with anything except two men and two women playing our four characters. But I thought that was kind of fascinating. But I love all the different interpretations of what this play is really about, what it's really about the decline of America, or it's really about gay couples and how they get bitter because they don't have kids or whatever.
Yeah.
Frankly, from a gay man, blessing, no kids, just saying. Anyway,
The dogs are enough.
well, God knows today especially. But anyway, yeah. But no, that's really about all I've got for that. Although, and then one other fun fact about the play itself, because the movie got all the Oscars and all the acclaim. It was the first film to have the entire cast nominated. One of our other favorites, Sleuth, also falls into that category. And do you know what the third one is? There's only been three in film history.
To have the whole cast?
Yeah, whole cast nominated
No,
for
I'm always
Oscars.
stuck on, there's the movies that got like the top five.
Yeah.
Pictures,
Yeah.
screenplay, director. Yeah. So no, I don't know what the other one
Yeah,
is.
the third one's kind of idiotic because it was a filmed like thing, but it was in theaters. Give 'em Hell Harry, with I think it was James Whitmore, one of those actors,
Hmm.
playing Harry Truman in a one-man show that they turned into a movie. So, but yeah, this one all for but this play was up for a Pulitzer Prize nomination and was going to receive it, but the Pulitzer Committee was like, ew, it's so nasty and ugly, and they say bad words. No, so they did not give an award for drama that year, even though the committee had said, this is who we vote for. This is the best play. The Advisory Committee said, we're just not going to have an award this year. Albee showed them, though, he got three more in his lifetime for three later plays, like one every decade, as long as he was around. But no, I think that's all I got. I could quote this movie all night long, but
Right?
we got to
Well,
bring this on
let's
home.
let's discuss some noteworthy scenes. Now, I have what I think is the pivotal moment. I'm pretty sure that we'll agree on that. Were there any noteworthy scenes? Now, we talked about the opening, which is just
The opening
spectacular.
and the closing are just also brilliant. And I kind of touched on
Hmm.
that too with that great master shot and everybody just kind of taking a breath and winding down. But then I love that final bit with George and Martha and just it's so great because he just there's she's sitting there, he's standing with her, he has his hand on her shoulder, it's very
Hmm.
affectionate and very kind. Um, and just watching her just grapple and try to understand and figure it out. There's that heartbreaking moment uh, where she says, well, maybe we could," and he's like, "No," and it's
Hmm.
like the idea of keeping going with the son and
Yeah.
just it's so devastating and the camera just keeps getting closer, slower and slower, and the horrible music, by the way. The score by Alex North, the only part of the movie I cannot stand.
Well, it's
Anyway,
only there for like a minute in the beginning and a minute at the end, so
yeah, but it's
you don't have
annoying.
to
I hate
suffer
it.
too
Anyway,
much.
yeah, thank goodness. But anyway, if only imagine if John Williams had got his hand on this, it'd be like Martha's
Right?
theme, and whatever. Anyway, no, but
Lots of horns.
there's this final yes, this final shot of the two of them just kind of reconnecting, and the camera just keeps pushing in, and finally just stops with the two of them kind of clutching each other's hands, and then it just
Yes.
says the end. And
Hmm.
just such a great way. I mean, it starts off very light and comic with her Betty Davis impersonation and the befuddled husband only half listening, and it's very jokey and funny. Then we're like taken for this 2 hour nightmare ride, and then it ends on this really loving, like earned moment that is not expected from where we started, and certainly not expected from anywhere we thought we were in the middle of the movie to end up
Well, and
with.
I feel like it also leaves you where at the beginning you could probably project where they're going to be tomorrow,
Yeah,
but by the end of it, they're not in the same place.
no.
And you're left wondering, like, where are they going to be tomorrow? Like, what the hell happens after they go to bed? Like,
Yeah.
and I think that's interesting that you thought you knew at the beginning, but you don't.
I
Um,
get I get this vibe that it's going to be like one of those episodes of Twilight Zone or Night Gallery or whatever, where the next day it's going to start and they're just going to like have some drinks and it's going to all start over, you know,
yeah.
like they're like they're in this like time loop or something where they're just
Yes.
going to be like, there was no last night. Meanwhile, how's our son? Oh, did you hear what he
Right.
did today? And I don't know, but it is
Well,
it,
so
it it's
then we've kind of talked around it, but let's talk about the pivotal moment.
what
And
do
I
you call the pivotal moment? I want to know.
Well, now I'm not sure. Damn it. Because I thought it was, and I still kind of think it is, the expression on Richard Burton's face when George learns that Martha told Honey they have a son.
Yeah,
Because the
yeah.
rule is you can't talk about him. But
It's
then
like
I
Fight
think,
Club.
right? But then I think I'm wrong. And it's actually when you find out that he doesn't exist at all.
Well, I
So I
think
can't
you're
really
right. Well, and the thing
decide
about
which.
this, you might be more right because the movie ultimately is about relationships. It's about the relationship between George and Martha, as
Yes.
dysfunctional as it is. And mentioning the son, although breaking a rule, is not this does not give you as much insight into the relationship as there is no damn son. I mean,
Hmm.
I still get emotional every time, and it's not subtle. But when George Siegel is going, I think I understand. Oh my God, I think I understand. If you're the only person in the audience who isn't caught up yet, at that point, it's heartbreaking. It's so
Yeah.
horrible. Um, but what's interesting about that, so I think it is not that I think it's a catalyst for the future action because once he finds out that Martha has broken the rule, he's going to break all the rules. But
Yeah.
I think it for the audience, it's to reveal there was no son. But what's interesting about this play is that this movie is that there's all kinds of lies and misinformation. Like, was Honey ever pregnant?
Yeah. Does she want kids or does she not want kids?
Right, and she has this quote, hysterical pregnancy. Well, did she just basically tell Nick that, oh, I'm pregnant. Now you have to marry me. And she like knew, or did she actually think she would? So
Well, like they
there's
talk about her gaining weight, and I'm like, well, did she just put on the freshman 15 and
right
everybody
because
assumed she was pregnant?
there's this whole, and then was it deliberate? Was it not deliberate?
Hmm.
Once it happened, if it was, did did she inadvertently? She wasn't planned. Did she just ensnare him with it anyway? I mean, so there's that whole thing. There's the whole mystery of did George kill his parents or not? Like, we don't really ever know if that ever happened. See, this whole movie, like everybody is just lying out their ass about everything. Um, and so there's this whole thing, and then of course you have all this subtext of he's in the math department. He's not in the math. He's in the math department. And then when finally, when Nick says, well, I'm not in the math department, I'm in the science department or biology department. And she says, are you sure? Like
Yes.
the whole thing is just everybody's, the things they say, they're just all untethered from reality. It's like, is it deliberate? Is it coping mechanisms? Are they all just pathological? So the sun reveal ought to be even more shocking than it is, or maybe I mean to say less, but less shocking. But because everything they said all night, you don't know what's real and what isn't real, because they just say crap, and they will defend to their death that he is in the math department, even if he isn't.
Yes.
And even then, they're like, and so these are four people who don't have a very good grip on reality or just don't want to. And so the sun reveal is sort of inevitable, but it is not the only lie or half truth or illusion that we've heard during the evening, because it's been all full of just crazy stories and things that may or may not be true. So it's just kind of the biggest one for sure. But
Yes.
so I'm going to say pivotal moment when we, the audience, realize and Siegel that it is a fictitious child. That is just like when the rug's pulled out from you and you're like, what am I watching then? Like, what is
Right. What
happening?
has actually been happening this whole time?
Yeah, yeah.
All right. We are going to take one more break and then we'll come back to wrap things up. So, Robert, I absolutely adore Mike Nichols. I think he's just a genius. If someone was unfamiliar with this director, which three films would you suggest that they watch?
This was such a tough question. But the thing about Nichols is, looking over his filmography, he was so of his time. Do you want all three at once, or you want to
Yes.
take turns? Okay.
Yeah, no.
Um, I will start with probably what would be my number three. We'll do this counting backwards style. Angels in America from 2003. It was for television. It was on HBO, but it was 6 hours long. So I counted as a movie, and he did
Yes.
direct it. And again, another adaptation of a play, or actually in this case, two plays. Tony Kushner's Pulitzer Prize winning plays about the AIDS crisis and so much more. Like every Nichols film, chock a block with big name actors doing amazing work. I mean, this one had Meryl Streep and Al Pacino and a host of other people. Emma Thompson was in it as well. It is brilliant. It is dramatic. It has so much to say because of Kushner's script. And it really definitely sums up the whole AIDS crisis of that era and the reality of what was going on. And again, another case where he took a very stagey play with angels appearing and hallucinations
Yes.
and things, and made this brilliant, just heartbreaking film of it. So Angels in America would be my number three. I
That's
would
why
say
it
don't watch
didn't
that.
make my list because I don't have enough tissues to ever watch it again.
Yeah, I would say
So,
don't start with that one because
no.
it is a lot. For one thing, it's 6 hours long.
Yes.
And so then my number two is it's a personal favorite and it's delightful in a lot of ways. Postcards from the Edge.
Yes.
Um, Super accessible and funny. Again, Meryl Streep and Shirley MacLaine giving
Shirley
the performance
MacLaine.
of her lifetime.
Oh
It
my
twirled
God.
up. I want a tattoo that says it twirled up. But
I love it
anyway,
when she says at the end, she's be sure to put my eyebrows on before I
yes.
get buried. I don't go in the ground without them.
I wonder if Mike Nichols put that line in, being as how he. Anyway,
Right.
no, but it's super accessible. Gene Hackman is in it briefly. He is
He's
hilarious.
so beautiful though in
And of
it.
course, it was based on the book by our dearly missed Carrie Fisher, who we just adore.
Yes.
And So much great about this movie. And incredible Nichols. It's a good introduction to Nichols. Has one of his amazing opening tracking shots. He was known for
Yes.
his like long tracking shots. The
Mhm.
Birdcage has one that took three different cameras where they fly in over the water and outside of Miami Beach, and then they go through the crowd, and then they go into the club, and it's like, yeah. Well, the Postcards from the Edge, I forget how long it is. It's like 7 minutes or something. It's
Mhm.
like this ridiculous, endless, lengthy tracking shot. And the punchline is it gets screwed up at the end, and Hackman's like, "Cut! You fucked it up. We have to do it again." So he kind of even mocking his own film excesses, but a great love letter to movie making and also a mother-daughter story, and one of my favorites in all ways, but definitely a good Mike Nichols movie. And then finally, for my number one, much as I love this movie, it is, as you know, Amber, it's a tough nut to crack. I advocate it as being one of my favorite movies always, and everybody should see it. But I'm going to run with The Graduate, which seems
Mm.
super obvious. It was his next movie after this one. Between the two movies, they got 20 Academy Award nominations. Whatever. It even though it is so set in the 1960s and that whole time period and that whole plastic, one word, plastic
Yes.
mindset.
Plastics.
It introduced the unknown Dustin Hoffman and another great cast, another great script. It's time by Buck Henry, and very funny, and again very accessible, but very much a Mike Nichols movie with the same kind of ambivalence about some things and the same kind of sharp satire that almost goes too far but is still totally believable. So I'm going to say Graduate, Postcards, and Angels in America.
All right. That is a great list. Now, I still stand by my choices from our episode on Mike Nichols' movie Wolf. But I get to make another list because this is my show. So
What was that list? Is it the same list or different?
it's different.
Oh,
I can't
I'll,
remember.
I'll, I'll listen. I'll listen to the
Yeah,
Wolf
listen
episode.
to it. And I know that one is the same because I it can't not have it. So um but to this list, I have changed a couple around. From 2001, Emma Thompson kind of became his muse for a little while, and they did a movie called Wit based on the play by Margaret Edson, and it's the story of a professor who reevaluates her life after being diagnosed with terminal cancer. And it's almost like a one-woman play. There are other characters, but it's really Emma Thompson's show, and it's devastatingly beautiful. And
It
she's
is
just
so good.
amazing.
When she
Yeah.
co-wrote it or adapted it, I guess I should
Hmm.
say.
Yeah.
Yeah, from the play.
And then from 1986, the movie Heartburn, starring Meryl Streep and Jack Nicholson, based on the book by Nora Ephron, telling the story of her marriage to Carl Bernstein. And I just love Meryl and Jack in this movie. Like, they are just spectacular. Spectacular. And the movie is just so funny, and it, is an early example of why we all fell in love with Nora Ephron. And then the same movie, of course, my all-time favorite movie ever, Working Girl, is I can't not have it on
I knew
any
it.
list. Like,
Probably why I left it off my list.
because you knew. I quote
Yeah,
it endlessly. I mean, I'll just burst out $6,000. It's not even leather.
I know I have to kind of Joan Cusack and Sigourney Weaver,
Yes.
everybody, it was just amazing. Um, the the line where Sigourney Weaver's character says, "Spray me down, pet." Is that in the movie or is that just in the trailer?
That's just
Because
in the trailer.
that's what I thought.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I remember I saw the movie, enjoyed it tremendously, but I had seen the trailer like 10 times and Sigourney Weaver slays me.
Hmm.
And she like walks up and wants, I guess, some kind of perfume or something and
Yeah.
says like, "Spray me down, pet," to poor little Melanie Griffiths. And when I sat and watched the movie, I was like, "Where's my line?
But where
Where's
is
my line? Where's my line?"
it?
But then of course over the years I kind of had forgotten whether it was in the movie or not in the movie. But okay,
Yeah.
yes, I was going to pick that one too because it's one of my favorite Mike Nichols movies and also one of probably not my top 10, but probably my top 100. Um,
Yes.
and so much great about the movie. But I knew you were going to pick it, so I
Yeah.
was like,
Well, and I
whatever
love
happens.
this was the first time I remember seeing Harrison Ford kind of playing,
Act.
well, honestly, playing a character that's probably more like who he is in real life, where he's kind
Yeah.
of like this nerdy, kind of schlubby guy. He gets like, mayonnaise on his chin when he's eating, his pita, and, you know, he's kind of dorky, but like he's a good guy. And that was amazing to see, Han Solo and Indiana Jones like be just this kind of nerdy Wall Street guy. All right, let's go back to Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf. Do we recommend seeing this film? So I'm going to say if you want to see the most amazing performances by Elizabeth Taylor and Richard Burton, and you want to know, like, what is the fuss all about with these two, like, definitely watch this movie. But I honestly, I will never probably ever watch it again. They did an episode of The Office. You talked about different
Oh yeah.
adaptations. There's an episode of The Office called Dinner Party, and it's exactly this movie, only a half an hour instead of, 2.5 hours. And I literally skipped that episode because it makes my skin crawl and it makes my tummy hurt. So, if you don't have the 2.5 hours to watch this movie, um, watch the episode of Dinner Party, and you'll know everything you need to know. But if you want to give it a shot, it is available to rent on Prime. It is free on Canopy with a K. Robert, I have a feeling you're going to highly recommend this.
Well, I'm first going to rebut your thing about don't watch the Office episode because it does not have Edward Albee's language. His language is amazing, and
Yes.
his it's amazing, and it did not have Mike Nichols' direction. To say nothing of the performances. I mean, the
But
performance
I mean,
on
if
The
you want to
Office.
watch an uncomfortable dinner party where people like want to crawl out the bathroom window to escape, then
Yeah,
there
well,
you
but
go.
for me, yeah, for me that this is more than the sum of its parts. I think this is not a movie about an uncomfortable dinner party. This is just like artistry all the way. I love it tremendously. I would not just wholesale recommend it to everybody though, because it is a lot unique. Um, and I mean, I have friends who are younger than me who will not watch black and white movies because they're weird and they're old, and it's like,
Oh my heavens.
anyway, whatever. Yeah, I know. Anyway, but I would say it's a qualified recommend if you are in for a challenge, if you like really great filmmaking, if you like complicated storytelling and great acting, jump in. But if you're more of a popcorn movie person, pass this movie up and enjoy what you want to see because it
Well,
is a
and
lot.
all right, listeners, what do you think of Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf? Have you seen it? Did we get this one right? Did we get this one wrong? Let us know on social media. We are on Facebook, Instagram, and X. Check out afilmbypodcast.com for film and TV articles and our entire library of episodes streaming free. Write to us at afilmbypodcast@gmail.com with your questions, comments, and concerns. We may just read your response on the show and send you some A Film By swag. Robert, thank you as always for your insight. We love having you on the show. And you can also find Robert and his husband Stephen at area festivals with their Mayrow & Co. dog treats, which are also now available at Jungle Gyms. And to all of you listening to the show, following us on social media, and subscribing to our Patreon, we thank you.